It's a sound check.
That's a sound check for JJ.
Yes.
Hi, JJ.
And that apparently was a sound check for Shane. Hi, Shane.
You lost your keys today.
Dude. And I looked everywhere. Everywhere I've ever had them before. And they weren't in any of those places.
Good times.
The downstairs bathroom that I never use. Except for I used it yesterday, apparently.
Except for I used it yesterday and forgot. That's fantastic. Just fantastic.
It is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Wasn't going to say anything till I knew.
Good.
The arsonist had oddly shaped feet. I know. It makes you laugh every time, man.
Just think of him doing it. It's so fantastic. Fantastic.
You must respect my authority.
Authority.
Yeah.
No one knows what you're talking about.
Of course they don't.
Every now and then they'll let Cartman do some type of a authority. Fight for the Confederacy. Yeah, every now and then they will.
Yeah. Yeah, no one listening right now will know, but when they see my shirt, they'll understand.
Very true.
So let's see.
We're a lively bunch, aren't we?
Yeah, I was going to say, hey, JJ, this stream is minimal. You've got pretty much all the bandwidth going out
All right.
on that channel, so.
Yeah, YouTube was freaking out at me for a bit.
Was it?
It's just saying that it was receiving bitrate for the audio stream at 2 kilobits per second. That's not a lot, is it?
Boy, how much do you need for audio?
I think Alexander Graham Bell had more bandwidth than 2
More bandwidth than we're streaming with.
That's fantastic.
So, the pixelation, we're going to look like 8-bit video characters while we do this?
Is it still pixelated?
No. That's all we're streaming at. Yeah, we'll be.
Oh, no, that was just the audio. Which is why I made the Alexander Graham Bell reference rather than the Philip D. Farnsworth.
Yeah, okay.
That's a television reference. Just
Yeah, okay.
I really have been getting into Futurama more and more.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I mean, I always have, but still am.
Our pre-show banter is killing people today.
Yeah, whatever. It's all good.
Shane's not feeling it.
Not feeling it. It's because he hasn't
No,
had
you guys
for breakfast.
bring. I do need a whiskey.
I do too. I need more than a whiskey. I'll take a couple of fingers.
You might want to.
Hey everybody, we'll be starting in a few minutes. If you want to send questions in, put them in the chat window or email them to webcast@adminarsenal.com.
Use your stage voice, Annalisa.
Project.
That's the thing, like it's...
Quit acting all happy. I can hear it in your voice.
That I'm not happy? True.
You need a whiskey too, don't you?
I do.
I'd like to order 3 whiskeys, and Annalisa will pay for them.
I have a scotch.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining the webcast today. Today we're going to be talking about dealing with some of those offline computers and getting deployments out to them. If you have questions at any time, like I said earlier, you can ask them in the chat window or you can email them to me at webcast@adminarsenal.com and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can live. If your question's featured during the webcast, we'll send you some PDQ swag, such as this lovely rocks glass, or we have PDQ shot glasses as well. We'll turn it over to Shane and Lex.
Hey everybody, I'm Shane.
And I'm Lex from Admin Arsenal.
Well,
Offline machines today?
Offline machines with a nice touch of auto deployment.
Oh, nice.
It seems like we get a lot of questions about auto deployment. More and more people are using it, so we'll do a deep dive there. So obviously, let's go ahead and move over here, JJ. When it comes to offline systems, as you know, if you're using our software, we don't have an agent, and
That's a good thing.
yeah, there's definitely some pros and some cons to that. But since we don't have an agent, it does make historically has made some of the offline
Deployment's difficult.
correct
Yeah.
because when you have an agent and you have that infrastructure, agent can boot up and say, hey, is there anything waiting for me out there?
Got something for me?
But once again, you kind of pick your pain, and there's a lot of benefit to not having that agent out there. So anyway, we do have a couple of ways of dealing with that, and we're going to cover them again today. Let's do the first one. Obviously, we're going to cover one requires that you have either one requires enterprise mode,
Yeah.
and then one requires at least pro mode in deploy and pro mode in inventory. So the one that requires enterprise does not require PDQ inventory.
So that's the retry queue.
That's the retry queue. So we'll jump right into that. So let's say that we've got
Handful of machines that are offline.
yeah, we have a handful of machines that are offline. But let's go ahead and do maybe Adobe Air. Does that sound good? All right. Now, if you want, and I have the opportunity of going out to a lot of different customers, doing training online and seeing their environments. Yeah, and I've been to some of their sites as well. But I do see this quite a bit. And once again, pick your pain. When you set up the retry queue, I'm noticing in preference deployments, people, a lot of customers are setting this as the default.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, that's fine. Do it, but if you have a lot of deployments, you're going to have that retry queue get filled up pretty fast, especially if you have a lot of deployments on a lot of offline systems. Best practice, I think, is to choose those packages and those scheduled deployments, whatever, that you want the retry queue enabled. So if you don't enable it here in preferences, in other words, there's you could put offline computers in the retry queue if you want. If you enable the retry queue, it's going to be enabled for every deployment unless you turn it off at that deployment or that package level.
Yeah, and we're finding it's much easier just to turn it on for the ones that you want. I mean, if you got laptops, which most of you do, those guys are in and out of the office, so those deployments are going to start stacking up.
Correct. Keep in mind, you can put them in the retry queue automatically. This value right here, the retry queue interval, that is a global setting.
Mm-hmm.
So you can change the number of retries at the package or the deployment level, but you can't change how often. So its default is 1 hour. The minimum is 15 minutes that you can have. If you try to go below 15 minutes, it should give you, just no feedback.
Won't let
You're
you
not going to
do it,
do that. And then the default retry is 72 hours or 72 times. So if you set the default, that means it's going to retry for 72 times, effectively 3 days, because the default is 1 hour. Anyway, we'll set that back to an hour. Yeah, keep it an hour 15. I'm going to turn this off. Even if you turn this off in the preferences, that value, retry queue interval, is still used if you enable at the package level. So let's go ahead and do deploy air.
Okay.
All right. Going to hit deploy. We'll just do a deploy once for right now. How's that sound?
Definitely.
Okay.
Pick a couple machines.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we're just going to pick a smattering of ones that we know are online and the ones that we know
Well,
are offline.
I know we got a couple of computers. Putty's offline.
Okay.
Alcone.
Costanza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We always use Costanza.
And once again, everybody, those are machines, not people. So
I love it.
I just name them after television shows I happen to watch or these guys talk about a lot. So
Correct.
Costanza.
Let's go ahead and we'll do Costanza, and let's do I think iCal. Is iCal
iCal's online.
Is iCal online? No, we'll find out. Let's find out.
There we
we'll
go.
do iCal. And we'll hit childs.
Sounds good.
And 20. And why not do Maggie? Okay, so we're going to say just those right now.
Now here's where we're going to set the offline settings for the retry.
Notice that this little drop down, it's collapsed right now. I'm going to open it up. Notice it does say the retry queue interval, or the retry interval is 1 hour, 15 minutes. Now, remember, you can also set the retry queue at the package level, and that would overwrite whatever is at the preferences. And then you can overwrite both right here. So we're not going to use the settings from the package because the package wasn't changed. We are going to turn on, put computers in the retry queue. The allowed retries is 72 right there. Sound good?
Yep.
We'll hit deploy.
There we go. Costanza already failed.
Yep, Costanza's computer has, if you see, that error is because, by the way, I'll show you why. That error coming back, it's been excluded by the offline policy. Notice it timed out pretty quickly. I've got, in preferences under deployments, I've got the use ping for offline testing. That means it actually sends a ping out to every computer before, every target before it's deployed. And if it doesn't return the ping in 2 seconds, within 2 seconds, it just says it's offline. I'm not even going to bother deploying
moves
to it.
right on to the next one.
So yeah, so Costanza was. So if we go over to our retry queue, we should see that there is one computer in there, Costanza for Adobe Air. And it's going to try next in an hour. You can always, by the way, just bump that up by saying, try now. If you try now, notice the there's the remaining attempts. If I hit try now, it's going to attempt that deployment again.
And it'll end up decrementing the count.
And it should decrement the count down to 71. So you can, if you happen to know that it's online, hey, you're good. So what happens, let's go ahead and boot up Costanza.
Now, just a question, Shane. If I try now, does it reset that hour to start from the last retry?
Yes, once you do the try, it should reset the time.
Okay.
I believe, yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and boot up Costanza. And obviously, we're not going to wait for an hour plus change to do that. We are just going to go ahead and do this right now. Now, if there's another, by the way, if you have Costanza, if Costanza has like 4 different packages in the retry queue, and one package is set to retry in an hour, and the next one in 2 hours, just because of how they were, next one in 15 minutes or whatever. Basically, once a computer is determined to be online in the retry queue, all of the packages in that retry queue for that computer are going to be attempted sequentially.
Nice.
So you don't have to wait, whatever each package is set to.
Can I sequence those?
Well, it's going to be based off of whichever one hits first, and then it's probably going to go off of the deployment ID together. I don't know. Anyway, so let's see if Costanza's coming up. So we'll go ahead and it's back up. So it's going to go ahead and try now. And it will try to hit that. Once again, we'll just say, hey, yeah, this hour has been met. All right.
You see it installing.
And there's Costanza being installed. And of course, you can always go out to PDQ inventory because we have this set to
Scan after.
To scan after. You can go out there and verify that these machines. Let's go to Maggie here real quick. I'm going to type in Maggie. We should see that Maggie has Adobe Air. Yep, there's the latest version of Adobe Air right there.
So are there any, best practices when it comes to retry queue? I mean, things you definitely don't want to retry.
Well, I certainly don't retry things like packages that are set to reboot computers. I know a lot of you out there have packages that do only one thing: reboot workstations, and you have that set to run at Saturday nights or something like that. Or some of you I know do it every single night. Don't make sure that one doesn't do the retry queue, because all it's going to happen is it's just going to reboot the computer next time it boots up within that retry queue interval. All right, so that's how you can hit the retry queue, folks. Now, when I was talking about maybe not doing it, not setting this, at the preferences level, that's because if you're doing thousands of computers, deploying to thousands of computers, and you have a lot of computers that are offline, your retry queue is just going to get packed.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of extra processing power. But if you've got the hardware and you want to do it, go for it.
Let it fly.
Mhm. I just like to be a little more selective. Now, once again, this did not require PDQ inventory. The Retry queue does not. Now we're going to go, those of you who maybe have, you can do this if you have enterprise, but if you have inventory in at least the pro mode, you can use what's called a heartbeat. And I've got one of those set up.
Basically what the heartbeat is it checks with inventory to see the status change from offline to online for a computer.
Correct.
And when that happens, it'll attempt a deployment.
So I'm going to open up PDF24. Now, we're actually going to also talk about auto deployment in this example, because this is a great one. PDF24 Creator came out yesterday, a new version. So I'm going to open this guy up. I'm going to go to Packages. Notice it's attached package version 705. By the way, if you look down here on the status bar, if you want to zoom that out.
Probably make us disappear too,
Yeah,
JJ.
right behind Lex's gut. You'll see a little, there we go. Yeah, there's one auto deployment approval waiting. Remember, in auto deployments, this is the ability to deploy software packages from the package library as they are in the package library. You can't modify them. You can have these automatically pushed out to your target computers.
Some of the most popular, obviously, Flash and Java for
It's
that.
kind of a set it and forget it. So I've got one. Once again, the new version came out. So I've currently got 705 that's attached to this schedule. But there's a new version that came out yesterday. It's 706. But it's not going to use that until I approve it. Your approvals are
set in preferences, and it's basically set there so that you have time to test before you release
Correct.
it out into the wild.
I know we have customers that say, you know what, I'm just going to automatically or immediately approve that. The second the package library sees that there's a new version, I'm going to immediately approve it, and then it's going to be attached to
It's
the
like
schedule.
saying you trust Lex and Shane
That's right.
not to
Why?
make a mistake.
The default is to wait 7 days.
Yeah.
You can always change that, but that gives you, once again, up to a week after the new version comes out to test it. Maybe import it manually, test it on some computers, make sure it works for you. So let's just say we've gone ahead and tested that, and we want to approve it. We don't want to have to wait the rest of the 6 days. So I'm just going to approve it now.
Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go right now. It's
Yeah.
going to go on the next schedule.
Correct. So I'm going to go back to the schedule, PDF24 Creator, open that up, and notice the attached package is no longer 705, it's now 706. And the computer history that was there, when we first opened this up, if you saw, there were computers that had received 705. Now they haven't received 706. And these are the targets right there. We've got Costanza, Putty, Alcone, and B6401, all right? So we've still got, let's see, Costanza's back online now, but we still got Alcone and Putty that are offline. Oh, and this schedule kicks off every week at, it's going to kick off every week at 5:29 p.m., Wednesday at 5:29. But we also have this trigger right here. It's the heartbeat. What the heartbeat does, this is where PDQ inventory is required, is it says when a computer goes from an offline state, I'll show you, to an online state. If there's a target to this, for this schedule, there's a target that hasn't received it yet. And in inventory, notice let's go to Alcone, this computer. Notice the offline state or the online state is set to off. It has to be off here at some point, because when Alcone comes back online, I'm going to boot up Alcone and Putty.
There'll be a state change, obviously, and it'll go from no to yes.
Correct. We have these automatically set to ping. How do we do that? That's based in preferences once again. It's set by default. If you go to Network, and if you have an older version of PDQ inventory, it was called Heartbeat, but the last few versions have been under Network panel. And the default is 300 seconds. We've changed it. The minimum you can have is 120. What does that mean? It means that in this case, we lowered that for this demo. Every 2 minutes, all the computers are pinged to see if they're online. If you have a lot of computers, we're talking thousands, you don't want to have that set to 120. Have that
Made
set
a lot
somewhere.
of network traffic.
Yeah, 600, 900 seconds, something like that. The more computers, the higher that value should be. Otherwise, you're just going to overwhelm your system. So that means once these computers come online, within 2 minutes, in this case, they're going to get pinged. Once they're pinged and they go from an offline to an online, that's going to trigger the heartbeat. All right?
So that'll trigger the heartbeat. So now the heartbeat schedule is running right now. Costanza's online. Costanza, according to the heartbeat schedule, because it's not going from offline to online at this point,
Mm-hmm.
is not going to get that update until either the schedule hits or we end up cycling the power on
Correct.
Costanza, right?
So so you saw Costanza was showing, went to an online state, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And then you had to give it some time for deploy to say, oh, by the way, and Costanza was a target here, right? Yeah,
Yep.
there we go.
So,
Did you say we have another question?
oh. Can I use the ping for offline with Pro since I don't have Enterprise? David C.
Hi, David. The ping for offline. Oh, yes. I think you're talking. Let me see. It looks like we got it. JJ, I can barely hear you. By the way, kicking off. Notice we've got Alcone and Putty are kicking off.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to look at Costanza for a second. Okay, so the question is, can you use I think you're talking, David, about. The answer is yes. I mean, can I set ping for offline with Pro? I think you're talking about in deploy. Where's my deployments?
The offline status
Use ping
right there?
for yes. That is. The answer is yes. You can. That's
And again, basically,
that one is not. That one is not. In fact, you can use that in free.
Yeah.
What you can't use in the free mode is send wake on LAN to offline computers.
Now, getting that ping again is just going to, instead of when you deploy it, launching a deployment to a machine that doesn't know it's online,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to go out and do the ping, and then it'll pretty much expedite your deployments because it's not trying to wait
Correct.
for an offline machine to install.
Correct. So let's go back to our schedule here. PDF 24. Go to computer history, and we're going to see Alcone and Putty kicked off. Now I'm not sure why Costanza didn't.
Costanza, he was offline. You put him online, and then you approved the package. So he's already in an online state before the
Oh.
package was approved.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was.
I suck. Okay, so that's okay. So
Now,
guess
I wanna
what?
Pause on that for a minute. You do suck.
So, but this brings us to another point. You've got a heartbeat. People have asked us, I've made a schedule with a heartbeat, but I want it to kick off
Hit
now.
machines that are already on, yeah.
How do I do that? I have to wait for them to go offline in inventory and then online again? The answer is yes, if you're using the heartbeat. But notice we also had another trigger, the schedule, every week. But even if I didn't have that, you can always come over here to your schedule, right click and say start schedule. And this is a great way. If you're going to build a schedule that only has a heartbeat trigger, but you do want to get everything out to the online machines, build it, set the heartbeat trigger, and then right click on it and say
launch
start
it,
now.
yeah.
And it will hit all those online machines and those offline machines, as long as they are in inventory and marked as such. When they come online, they'll get that.
Yep.
So let's take a peek. Oops, pardon me. Come over here. Notice it's this new one now is just Costanza and
B64.
now, why didn't it do these other two computers? They're still targets. Notice I just said deploy now. Why didn't it do Alcone and Putty?
I already have it installed.
Correct. Well, they already had it deployed, and we had our schedule.
Marked 2.
If you look in the options,
Stop deploying after
Mhm.
succeed.
stop deploying to computers once they succeed. So you had mentioned when you don't want to do the retry queue, something like reboot. If you're going to have a package that only does a reboot, uncheck that if you're going to have that package kicked off on a schedule, because you want them to reboot every night or every week. If you have that checked, it's only going to reboot them once, and the next time that kicks off, it's going to say,
Yeah,
as
we've
far as I
already
know,
done it,
this
yeah.
is just a package that you say only let it go successfully once to a computer.
Now, I just want to point out a reboot on a heartbeat schedule. That just seems wrong.
Yeah, once again, what I was
Reboot?
saying, I was giving you, I'm sorry, I should have closed
know.
that loop. You mentioned that, the reboot. I'm saying also, in as much as you don't want to do a retry queue on the reboot, you don't want to do stop deploying to computers once they succeed on a reboot, if that's a schedule. All right? Another question, go for it.
Would it be possible to make PDQ deploy put offline and computer names not found in the retry queue?
Hi, Ross.
buddy.
I'm trying to decide. Would it be possible to make PDQ put the offline and? Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's okay. And then thank you for doing the uppercase on the end. It obviously puts the offline. Here's why we don't do that. We look for, when I say we, I mean obviously PDQ deploy. When you're using the retry queue, it looks for any error that signifies the computer was found but offline. And there's about 3 or 4 different return codes that Windows will give you. It's kind of funny. If you were to look at the code, you see we're looking for any number of certain return codes from Windows saying, hey, this computer was in DNS, but it's not responding. We have to have one of those offline signals from Windows. If you deploy to a computer and it can't be found in DNS, or it fails, maybe it fails because there was an incorrect parameter or something, or incorrect credentials, that's not going to be put in the retry queue. It's got to be an offline error that's returned. Otherwise, you could have computers that are infinitely put in there because maybe you've got a package that tries to deploy Adobe Reader, and it's got a later version of Reader or something, and it's going to always fail, and it would just be consistently trying to deploy that. Because it fails. No, we don't look for just failures. And computer name not found, that's something that we've decided not to put in there, Ross. It's really...
You spell a name wrong when you put it in?
You're going to want to make sure you have your DNS cleaned up. We've got a customer that told us that they don't control their DNS, that they have to go to do a mother may I to their networking folks. And their networking folks will not enable scavenging.
Really?
Yeah. So they're constantly getting, they've got 6, 7 computers that all have the same IP address according to DNS.
Wow.
Yeah.
Set scavenging, definitely a good thing. Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question, Ross. We do that just so that we don't have, so we don't inadvertently deploy to the wrong computer.
And we don't end up orphaning a bunch of deployments out there that'll never hit anything.
Correct. So we've covered the retry queue. We talked about the heartbeat. In auto deploy, notice Chrome. Chrome has just come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think Chrome might be kicking off here soon. Yeah, it maybe it already kicked off. Let's see if we've got any deployments. Yep, Google Chrome kicked off a minute ago, and it pushed out to those computers. So, you want to hurry and set up an auto deployment?
Let's do it.
Okay. Now there's a couple ways of doing it. You can have one schedule that kicks off multiple auto deployment packages, or you can just do a 1-to-1. Here's what you'd want to do a 1-to-1. I'm going to go out to let's do Adobe Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
sounds good.
And we're going to do Flash. This is the Flash for Firefox. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to add auto deployment. I'm going to create a new schedule. You could attach this to an existing one, but we're going to create a new one. And I'm just going to call this, Adobe Flash, like auto deployment or something like that. And then I'm going to have this run
weekly on Fridays, maybe?
And we'll just do weekdays.
Weekdays.
Monday,
okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. All right. We're going to have this run all the time. But we want to make sure that the targets we go to are appropriate. So I'm going to link to PDQ inventory because we've got a collection library out there, and that shows, let's get out of applications and go down to runtimes, Adobe Flash.
We just want to update the machines that already have it. I don't want to install it on anybody new.
Correct. So we've got one called Flash Plugin Old.
Now, the nice thing about link to, that's a dynamic, obviously, link to a changing collection.
Yeah, so if we look at this right now, we've got 11 computers that are in here. A new computer that comes in that has an older version, it's automatically going to place in here. The next time this kicks off, it's going to run. And those that get this successfully, we have them set to scan, so they should leave this collection anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back to deploy. So we've got this set. We have our targets. Our schedule is every day, every weekday. Our options, we are going to stop deploying. And let's go ahead and put this in the retry queue. And in fact, let's shut down Putty again. Just going to shut him down. There we go. And we'll shut down Mackie as well. And we're just doing this so that we can see the... boy, do I even know this product or not? What the hell? We're going to shut these down so we can see the retry queue kick into gear.
Kick into gear when this kicks off.
All right, so it's shutting those down. Now we go back over here. we are going to put them into a retry queue. We'll stick with the. By the way, if you do want an indefinite retry queue, you can set this to 0, and that will do it unlimited times. But use this
sparingly.
Yeah, use this. Make sure you know what you're doing when you do that, please. Nothing in the computer history. We'll say OK. Now, I kept the default setting of 7 days for approval. That means the next time Flash comes out, it's going to give me 7 days before I can before it will automatically attach the new version. I can change that here. If you look, go ahead and remove my fat body there, JJ, so we can see. I've got in the auto deployments, Adobe Flash. I've selected this guy. Notice right down here the approval. It's automatically after 7 days. I can change that just for this particular instance. We're not talking about this schedule with this Flash, and just say go immediately. Once again, as Lex mentioned, just because you approve it, it doesn't mean that it deploys it. It just attaches it to the package, that whatever the latest version is, and the next time, or it attaches it to the schedule, and the next time the schedule kicks off is when it runs.
Yep.
All right, so we've got our schedule. It's set to run every week, every weekday. I'm just going to go ahead and kick this off right now.
Okay. Now, you'll also notice there was an option to pick individual packages. So if you had multiple packages, you could just pick the Flash. In this case, there's only one, so made it real easy.
So we're kicking these out. Go to that deployment. Notice a couple of them have said they were offline. You got Mackie and Putty.
Got to see those in the retry queue.
So they should be in the retry queue. Yep.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And that means, obviously, that once they boot up, I'll go ahead and boot them up. And I don't know where the hell it is. There we go.
Once they boot up, and tomorrow when this runs again, as long as they're online, they're going to get it.
Correct. Well, no, that's the schedule. The retry queue is going to kick off in an hour.
That's right. You're right.
We're talking about the retry
schedule.
queue.
Sorry.
Yep. So within an hour, these will get it, or until you select it and say, yeah, try it now, or if it's online. Let's see.
So Shane, before you do that, just if you want to do a little maintenance, a little cleanup here, also notice you highlight over to the right there. There's remove from queue, so you can take stuff out, clean that up if it's getting messy.
Correct. So we just removed Putty from there. Hey, you know what? I don't want Putty to get that. We just removed it. Now he's out of the queue. He's still in that he's still in that schedule though.
Yep.
So the next day he's going to get that. If you want to go out there and remove that, then get him out of that other collection or for whatever reason.
Yep.
All right. And yeah, Mackie's up. We can highlight Mackie and just say try now. And we can see if Mackie is truly online, then it will get it. There you go. If we don't have any more questions, we can go back to, I don't know.
Bantering?
Oh, we got one.
Oh.
Rob, you're like the guy that comes into the restaurant like 2 minutes before the close and all the cooks are waiting. All right, does PDQ inventory have an agent? Seems to me this would be a function of an agent, or am I mistaken? Heartbeat. Hey, Rob, yeah, if maybe you came in here late. When we first started this out, we mentioned we don't have an agent. That's what makes doing the...
Just keeps it real simple.
Yeah, offline a little difficult. So the retry queue is kind of like polling, and then the heartbeat. No, it does not have an agent, but it goes from an offline to an online status in PDQ inventory because of the ping. And that is set here in inventory preferences. It's enabled by default.
It's under networking.
Under network. Under network, you have auto heartbeat enabled. The default value is 300 seconds, so that means it pings computers every 300 seconds to see if they're offline or online. Once it goes from offline to online, that will trigger it. If you have a computer that's online and then you reboot it, it reboots, it comes back online, but inventory never pinged it in that window, it will never have gone from offline back to online. It'll just always say online. That's not going to trigger. That's not going to trigger the heartbeat.
The change, yes.
It's got to change status in inventory. Okay, have another question?
Can I link a heartbeat trigger to a retry queue only for a specific deployment, auto deployment?
You can only use a heartbeat trigger in a schedule, and you can use it in a schedule that's auto deployment. If we wanted, we could come over here to our schedules. If I get in the right program, you can go into your schedules and notice we've got our Adobe Flash auto deployment, and there's the package that's attached. The schedule I could add a heartbeat there
Mm-hmm.
to this. Yeah, I could add a heartbeat to this. And could I also do a retry? Yes, you could do a heartbeat and a retry. It's not a best practice. I mean, when you're talking about deploying, generally speaking, you might want to do one or the other.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Do a deploy. Or yes, but it's considered. I think it's best practice to just pick one or the other in the different situations.
Yeah.
So, some people like the retry queue; they love it. Others
Prefer the heartbeat,
Prefer
yeah.
the heartbeat. You know, it's just kind of pick your poison. All right, but the answer is yes.
Well, I guess that's gonna be it, Shane.
Well, rock on.
Okay.
Party
bud.
on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth.
All right, you guys. I'm Shane.
I'm Lex. Let's go have a whiskey.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining today, and thanks for all the great questions. If we didn't get to your question, if you'll hit our support site, support.adminarsenal.com. If your question was featured during this webcast, will you email me at webcast@adminarsenal.com, and then I'll hook you up with some PDQ swag. We'll see you next Thursday.